simple basic calculations to utilizing functions to carrying out day-to-day tasks, data entry, collection and cleaning, and even analysis. There's so many things we can do with spreadsheets. Some are limited. However, we have spreadsheet applications like Microsoft Excel and Google, which are the two topmost spreadsheet applications in the world today. And they have lots of exceptional or amazing features. They can give us a lot of capabilities. So let's proceed. Now, how can we be able to use spreadsheets, or what do they do for us? Here we can see that spreadsheet applications or tools are used for organizing, analyzing, and visualizing small to medium data sets. And their key features include data entry and organization, which we just talked about, functions and formulas for quick calculations as well, pivot tables for summarizing large data sets, and also charts and graphs for visualizing data. They are best for beginners. So if you're just starting out, it's best to work with spreadsheet applications before jumping into other sophisticated tools. They are also great for quick data analysis and reporting. Anyone can be able to carry out reporting processes in these spreadsheet applications. Now, for the session we're going to be having today, we will be more focused on working with Microsoft Excel. Also, Google Sheets is able to do the same thing. However, please understand that these are two different tools by two different organizations. They both perform similar functions, but in different ways. So while we're trying to do some things on Excel, you might also need to locate it on Google Sheets. They might just be located differently. So what are other tools you want to get familiar with as a data analyst or someone who wants to be in the know of data analytic operations? Now, next up is database tools, which are very, very important. Now, bases are simply storages for your data. They are kind of like a bank, but specifically for where you store your data. So the same thing that you do in the bank, you deposit your money or you store your money, then you get it out later on when you need to. It's also the same thing you get to do with databases. However, it is specifically for data. So you store your data into databases. You can also retrieve your data from databases. In order to work with databases, you need to understand their functions. There are two aspects of databases. There's the SQL database, there's NoSQL database, and then you need to understand which of them you want to work with at that point in time. Now, usually, most data analytic operations are usually tailored to relational databases like MySQL, PostgreSQL, which we can see here, MySQL, PostgreSQL, right? Oracle SQL as well. Cassandra and MongoDB are usually NoSQL databases, or also what we call non-relational databases, because they do not accommodate relationships between tables. Now, SQL, also known as the structured query language, is used for data manipulation, or as we want to call it, is the language of data. So this means for someone who wants to go deeper into data analytics, you might need to consider having a knowledge in SQL. You want to consider looking at SQL, what it is, and how to work with it. It's also important or helps you for fast querying and filtering of large data sets. Now, database tools can be best for large-scale data storage because the spreadsheet applications, even though they can store data, they only can do it limitedly. They have a limited amount of data that they can store, especially Excel. We still have Google Sheets on the cloud and can store lots and lots of record. However, Excel has a maximum capacity, right? It can only store about 1,040 something thousand rows, right? I don't have like the exact figure, but it can only store a little like that. And then, so when you need to store large amounts of data, like millions, trillions of data, you need a database for that. And over time, as you scale, as your data increases, you also need to consider scaling your database as well. They are also great for business applications most of the websites, the applications that we use on our phones, right, they are not being stored. The data from them are not being stored on Excel or spreadsheet applications. They are stored in databases, in the application databases. So it's important to note that as well. And they're also great for high performance queries. Some of the things that we cannot do in Excel, the limitations that we have with running large data, right? These are absolutely great for handling processes like that. Now, there are also business intelligence tools, which is important for us to note. The two major business intelligence tools we have, I would say, in the world today are Tableau and Power BI. Power BI by Microsoft and Tableau by Tableau or Salesforce, right? Now, business intelligence tools are basically those tools that help you look into your data, uncover the insights from your data, and then visually represent your data. So they use visuals to represent the data from your business. So they are called business intelligence tool because they have so much capabilities to uncover insights from your data. Now, some of the features of these business intelligence tools include drag and drop interfaces for data visualization. So when we're working with Power BI or Tableau, we would be doing a lot of drag and drop, drag this, place it in here, and then we can build our visuals. They are great for connecting multiple sources, connecting to multiple data sources like Excel, databases, APIs, websites, different platforms. So wherever our data is residing on, we can be able to reach there and collect our data from there. Also, we can perform interactive operations or build interactive reports using those business intelligence tools, aka BI tools, as we might want to call it. So the BI in Power BI stands for business intelligence, right? And then there's just Tableau, that's that. Then what are they great for? For decision makers who want to be able to see their data more better. They do not need to go through millions of records in order to understand their data. By looking at visuals, charts, and graphs, they can be able to make informed decisions from those. They're also great for real-time business reporting. You want to see what's happening in real time, all the highs and lows. These business intelligence tools will help you be able to achieve that. You need an executive dashboard as well that would provide an overview of whatever reports that or analysis that you've carried out. Then yes, your business intelligence tools will do the job for you. Then next, we have programming tools. So programming tools are those sophisticated tools that require you to write programs, computer programs, or codes in order to be able to achieve a given result. Some of the program tools that you will be exposed to when you go deeper into data analytics include SAS, which is specifically statistical programming. We also have Python, which is a multi-purpose programming tool. And then we have R as well, which is statistical focused. So these tools would help you improve and then carry out your analysis in a much more sophisticated or different way. Now, their purpose is to help automate your processes, analyze, and also visualize complex data. So they work really good when it comes to complex data. Some of their key features include libraries like in Python, we have libraries like pandas, which allow us to carry out data handling or data manipulation processes, right? We also have matplotlib or Seaborn, which allows us in Python to visualize data and get meaningful insights from it. We also have scikit-learn, which allows you as a data analyst to be able to carry out machine learning operations where needed. Now, R is also statistical based, likewise SAS as well. So these tools would help you be able to carry out analysis, mostly statistical analysis, and have it visualized using packages like ggplot too. So they are super great for advanced analysis. So if you need to take your analysis even more advanced, then you want to bring in programming tools, have a good knowledge of programming, how it works, what are the syntaxes, and then you can make good use of it. They are also great for carrying out machine learning processes and automating your entire data process. So you can be able to automate your data collection, data cleaning, automate your analysis process as well. and then you can have it visualized, right? And of course, they are fantastic for big data processing. So that's about that on tools. I think right about now, we would need to go into our data so that we can work with it. I was going to try to. So please, if you have any questions so far regarding any of the tools, please kindly call my attention. We'll get to look at it. Right, just gonna stop sharing. Okay, so let me bring this and all right, so I believe everyone has their data sets downloaded. I'm just going to download mine real quick and load it up, and then we can proceed. All right, so I'm going to share my screen again now. Okay, so I believe everyone can see my screen. Everyone should be able to see my screen. Oops. Share. Yeah. All right, so everyone can see my screen. All right, awesome. So this is the data set. We have it loaded up in Excel, and this is what it looks like. So this particular data set contains information about attrition in an organization. So we can have a look at the case study. There's an overview here, and we can be able to look through it. So this particular data set contains a total of 2,925 employee records with 34 attributes, meaning that we have about 34 columns with 34 attributes related to workforce attrition. It includes demographic, job-related, and performance-related variables. So the key features for this particular data set are the employee information, which we can see the employee number, or the employee ID. Then it has the age, gender, marital status, simply or typically the employee information. Now it also contains work conditions where we can be able to locate or see information about their job roles, their job levels, what department they belong to, whether they travel or for the business or the work overtime and all of those. We can also see their compensation and performance and work satisfaction as well. And lastly, we have the attrition indicator to also inform us whether that particular employee has left the organization or is still a part of the organization as at when the data was collected. Now we can look at the business case study to analyze key factors that influences the employee attrition to develop. So this can help the human resources team to develop retention strategies and improve workforce management. Now, some of the questions that we hope to find answers to from this data include the attrition analysis, what percent of employees have left the organization, what are the key characteristics of employees who have left the organization versus those who have stayed? Does attrition vary by gender? We want to know maybe the male gender or the male gender has left the organization more compared to the other gender. Also the same thing by age group. We also want to know if those who are married or divorced have left the organization more compared to those who may still be single. Is education level also a factor? Those are things that we hope to find answers to because, of course, we want to understand why are people leaving this organization. So there are so many things that we want to be able to look at. And of course, once we're all good with this, we can dive right into it. Can we please confirm that we're all good? Anyone, please confirm that we're all good. All right, fantastic. So let's proceed. So now that we've been able to get a brief idea of what the data set is about, so let's proceed. Now we have the data set here. Like I already mentioned, In subsequent sessions that we're going to talk about, we would be discussing the data analysis process and understand what the data analysis process is about. However, for today's session, we're going to look at what we can analyze, what we can be able to do to ensure that we get good insights out of this. So everyone also has their data loaded up in Excel, I believe. So let's proceed. Now, the first thing we want to do when we launch our data sets is to observe all the columns. Thankfully, we have all the column definitions here already. So if there's anyone we need clarity to, we can always come back to this. So let's proceed. Now that we have all of this, the next thing we want to do is to look at our data set and how it can benefit us. So we have the attrition column. We also have the business travel status, whether they travel for business or not, the department they are into, whether it's sales or R&D. I'm not sure what that actually means. Maybe research and development also. Their education field, what they actually studied in school, their employee staff number, their gender, their job role, their marital status. Now we can see the marital status is in S and M. So what we can do is to replace the S and M with what they actually need proper. Now, the first step that we're going to take is to provide or create a filter button for our work so that we can properly have a look at all of these. So we're going to add a filter button. Just come and click on any of my cell, and I'll go to my data tab. Everyone, please go to your data tab. Are we all practicing together, or what do we think? Are we all practicing together, or you want me to just do a walkthrough? Let's see what we think. Anyone, let me see in the chat. Practice together, okay? All right, so we're all following. Awesome. So we're going to go to our data tab. In the data tab, practicing, awesome. So in the data tab, we would then click on the filter button. So please go to your data tab. So we have all our various tabs. For some of us who are new to Excel, we have all our data tab, all our tabs rather, the home tab, insert, draw, page layout, formulas, and we want to be on the data tab. Now, when you go to your data tab, you should be able to see the filter button. So you can just click on the filter button. So when you click on the filter button, you can see the impact on your work. So you can see the impact on your work, right? Now, the next thing we want to do is to properly observe each and every one of our data. We can decide to check it if truly we have only yes and no, or maybe some of employees were having a maybe status. So we have just this and this. For business travel, we have those who do not travel at all, those who travel frequently, and the people who travel rarely. We also have the departments. How many departments do we have? 3 departments: the HR department, the R&D department, and the sales department. We also have for education, human resources, life sciences, marketing, medical, others, and technical degrees. Then we have the employee staff numbers, which are quite much. I think we have about 2,925 of them. We also have the gender. So there's just male and female gender. Then we can also understand their job role. So we can do the same thing all throughout our work. Now, when we have this done for that of the marital status, we can see that it has D, and then there's also divorced. It has M, and then there's also married. It has S, and then there's also single. So what this means is that it is likely that D still represents divorced, S still represents single, and M still represents married, right? So we cannot have the data this way. We need to make sure that they are in the right format. So we're going to combine them and make all the S single, all the M married, and all the D as divorced. So what we're going to do is to work on each of them. Now, there are lots of ways that we can handle all of this, but we're going to start off with something basic and then be sure that we're good. Once we're good with those, then we can start looking at writing functions and carrying out those operations. So let's proceed. Now, what we'll do will be to click on the filter button for marital status. Click on this button and we'll unselect everything and select only D. When we select only D, we'll click on OK. And then we can replace it with the right data. So we have divorced. So I'm just going to drag it down all through. So I'm going to drag it down to the last. And we have now replaced it as divorced. We'll also do the same thing for the other data. So now that we've done it for divorce, we no longer have D again. We have now combined all the D values into divorced. We're also going to combine the same thing for M. So I'm going to select only M, click on OK, and replace that to married. Once I do this, we'll drag down for the rest of my data. And this is it. So we now have divorced and married. Then next, we're going to look at that of the S. We'll select only the S, click on OK, so it filters for only S. Then we can change it to single. So we have this done, and that's it. So let me know if we're all good. So now we only have divorced, married, and single. Then we can click on select all and OK. So let me know if we've done the same thing or you're currently working on it. Let me know once you have it done on your end. All right, all right, all right, all right, all right. Okay, so anyone else? One more person, then we would proceed. All right, fantastic. So now we've been able to standardize that of the marital status. So the process that we've done right now is standardizing our data to make sure that anything inconsistent becomes properly consistent, right? Now we can see their age. Let's check over time. So over time is yes and no. So age, whether they are over 18. So everybody is over the age of 18, right? So it means that we might not need this data. Now, it's always important when we want to carry out analysis to figure out the important components of your data. In most cases, you do not want to discard some parts of your data, except when you know that they are absolutely not needed. So for the case of the over 18, we already have the age and we understand that they are all over 18. So is this a useful column? Absolutely no. So I don't think there's anything we want to do with it compared to all the other columns that we've seen. So again, two things. You can decide to let it be on your work. You can also decide to discard it. Now, if you discard it, it means that you would have nothing to worry about here. If you let it be on your work, it means that you still would need to be conscious enough to ensure that you have nothing to analyze with it. So either ways, you'd still be carrying out the correct process. Now, what I'm going to do would be to right-click on this and delete. So I'm just going to remove it from my work. And so I have over time, yes, training times last year. So we have various values for that. And then we have the age. So we can see the ages of the various employees. Now, when it comes to age, one thing that we can try to do is to create an age group, right? But we'll come back to that. This is because we may not be able to get the correct analysis that we want. if we work with just the age this way. So what we're going to do is to create an age group. We'll create an age group where we can say between the ages of, since everyone is over the age of 18, right? We can decide to say between 18 to 19, we'll put them under one age group. We can also create another age group between 20 to 29. We'll put them in one and we keep on doing it that way. That way, we will be able to see the employees that are categorized into each of those age groups. And then we can now know how to treat them. So maybe that way we can be able to say, oh, most of the employees that have left the organization fall within this age range. So it's something that we now need to concentrate on. So why is it that we have employees that fall into this age range having these issues, right? So these are things that we can look at. We also have their daily rates. We're fine with that. We also have the distance from home. So let's see distance from home. Okay, so we don't have distance from home here. Okay, so we don't have distance from home here. Would have made sense for us to understand if this is in meters or kilometers. So we can understand maybe this is 1 kilometer or 1 mile away from home or whatsoever. But I believe it's a good factor that we have here. Maybe we want to find out why people are leaving the organization. It might just be because they stay very, very far away from work. Or it might be contrary. It might just be because they stay close to the office. And as a result of that, they are being called upon at any point in time to, you know, let's see. So for example, we can say this person is working overtime. Why? Because they stay maybe 1 mile away from the workplace, right? So it might just be that you can see this person is not working overtime. Why? Because they stay maybe 8 miles away from the work, right? So we just need to understand the different criterias or factors that will play into helping us get the right insights that we need. Now, next, we're going to look at the education status. Let's see the education that we have. So we can see associates, bachelor's, doctoral, high school, and master's. So this means that we can also be able to carry out an education analysis. Maybe, just maybe, most of the people that have been leaving the organization are maybe people with doctorate degrees, and they feel like maybe the pay is not sufficient enough for them, or one reason or the other, right? But we'll definitely be looking at all of this. We'll find out what's going on. Environment satisfaction. How satisfied are they with the work environment? Their hourly pays, how involved are they in the job? Their job levels, job satisfaction rating, their monthly income, monthly rates, the number of companies that they've worked before joining this organization, their percent in salary hike, their performance rating, relationship satisfaction, standard hours, whether they have stock option in the organization or not. Their total working years, work-life balance. Is there work-life balance? Could this be a factor for why people have left the organization? Right. So we have, I would say we have sufficient enough data here. Years at the company, how many years have they been at the company? How many years have they been in their current role? How long since their last promotion? How many years with their current manager? Right. And we can then be able to see, by the time we're done with the analysis, we should then be able to have something tangible to say this could be a valid factor why people are leaving. So let's proceed. Now, as part of our data transformation process, I mentioned the age. So we'll just come here, we'll create this, we'll create a new column and work with the age. All right. Now we're going to call this the age group. I'm just going to call this the age group. So age group. Now what we're going to do will be to group our data based on the age. We'll group our data based on the age. So how do we do that? We're going to write an if function. I believe we're all familiar. Are we all familiar with the if function? Anyone? Are we familiar with the if function in Excel? Okay, one person. All right, so I'm just going to explain what the if function does, and then we can proceed. Now, the if function in Excel is a function, right, that allows us to work with conditions. Now, let's have a typical scenario. If, let's assume that I need to be in this session today, right? So my internet, if my internet is not terrible today, then what will happen? I will be in attendance, which means I will be available for the session today, right? Why? My internet is not terrible. So we've set a criteria or a condition that would enable me be in the session. So when I eventually join the session, what happens? It means that the condition that was set has been met. The criteria that was set has been fulfilled. I hope we get that. Now, in the instance where I am not in the session, it means that the criteria that was set has not been met. It means that at the end of the day, my internet ended up being terrible. And so what happens? I am not in the session. I hope we get that. Can we please confirm that we get that? All right. So we're going to write an if function that would help us get the age group for this. It may be a bit complex, but I'm just going to explain that. So I'm going to say if we have a logical test. Now, for our logical test, we want to bring in more conditions. In Excel, when we're writing functions, of course, we have to first start off with the equal sign so that Excel understands this is a function. If we just come here and type if, nothing happens, right? It may just think that we're Davido or so trying to sing a song, but that's not the case. So we want to equal to if, and we have our logical test. Now, in the case of our logical test, we're going to write the AND. This is because the AND function checks whether all arguments are true and returns true if all arguments are true. What this means for us, I'm just going to do instead of that. Yep, we're going to use the ifs instead. And then I'm going to bring in my AND. Now, what that does for us is that it's going to allow us look at various criteria. The AND condition will then, so we talked about a scenario whereby if I have to be available for the session, right? We set a criteria for my internet to be good. If my internet is good, I will be in the session. If my internet is bad, then I will not be in the session. Now, we can also set multiple criteria for why I will be in the session. We can say if my internet is good and my device is not low on power, and maybe something else, and I am not having a bad energy, right? Then I will be available for the session. So what happens when one of those criteria is not met? If any of the criteria is not met, then we are going to end up having a wrong or false result. This is because in order for me to be in this session, both my internet must be good, my device power must be good or credible, and then I must also be in a good mood. If at the end of the day, both my internet is good and my device is fully charged, but I have a bad energy or bad vibe at that point in time, it means that I still will not be in the session, right? So what this means here is that we're just going to write an if function which will allow us carry out this operation. So let's go. I'm going to say if and we have the age. So we're going to say if this age is greater than, so let's start from the very first. We're just going to say if the age is less than 20, right? Then we want to have, um, so we want to have a value which would be, say, less than 20. We'll just call it 18 to 20 instead. 18, 18 to 19. So we'll just call it 18 to 19 instead. Now we're saying If and the age is greater than is less than 20, we'll call it 18 to 19, right? At the same time, so we need another logical example rather. So give me a moment. So if an age is less than 20, and at this, okay, so this is going to be this. I'm just going to close my and from here. Yep, so we don't need that for now. Yep. So if this is less than 20, and at the same time, okay, so let's bring in other ones. I'm just going to bring in. Then this is going to be, so we are going to have this again. So my age, just give me a moment to quickly have this done. So my age is 20 and above, is 20 and above, also 20 and above. And at the same time, the age is, so I'm going to do this. So I'll have this formula shared. So let me try this. And at the same time, the age is also less than 30, right? Then, comma, we want to have what? Our value if true. So I'm going to give an explanation here. So we would have, this is going to be 20 to 29. And we're going to have the next one. And so just give me a moment, please. My age is greater than or equal to 30, greater than or equal to 30. And at the same time, the age is also, and at the same time, the age is also less than or equal to, so just less than 40. So it's greater than or equal to 30 and is less than 40. Then we're going to have, so we're going to have a value of 30 to 40, 30 to 39 rather, right? So next, we're going to write another one, which is going to likely be the second to the last, I think. So the age is also less than, so if the age is about 40, into 40 is equal to 40 and above. So I think the last one here is about 59. So we can do 40 greater than 40. And at the same time, I need to bring in my and here actually. It's going to bring and so I'm going to explain everything I'm doing here. I just want to quickly conclude with this. So if the age is greater than or equal to 40, and at the same time, the age is also, come here and bring my age. At the same time, the age is also less than 50. Then we want to call it, I'm going to call it 40 to 50, 40 to 49. And then lastly, we're then going to say anything that is greater than, so if the age is greater than or equal to 50, comma, then we'll call it above 50 or 50 and above rather. So we'll just call it 50 and above. So this is what we have, and here we go. Now I'm going to share this formula with us, right? So let's understand what this does for us. Now we can see that we have the age of 41 here. So we have created a formula that would say if the age is between 40 to 49, then Every other value that falls between 40 to 49 should be included in it. If it's 37, then it should be included in 30 to 39. If it's 27, then it should be included in 20 to 29. If it's 50 and above, then we should have it this way. I don't know if this makes any sense. I know the formula might seem a lot at this point, but let me just share this to the chat. Please let me know if this makes sense. So I have, okay, let's see. Let me have this shared to the chat. So I have shared this to the chat. So over time, right, in other sessions that we're going to look at, we would understand all of these functions better. We would look at how we can be able to work with the if function from the very, very basic, right? But today we want to see what insights we can get from this particular data. So please let me know if the function worked, the formula worked fine for you. You can just click on your age, create your age group column, then click on the first cell for the first value, then paste it in there. Let me know if it worked fine for you. If you have any error, let me know what error you have on your end so we can proceed. Now, as we progress, right, I'm going to also show us why we had to do this. Okay, so it worked fine for you. Anyone else? Let's see what we have in the chat. Using the if with s because of multiple functions. So yes, so I think this is a very good question. So we're using the ifs. So there's a difference between the if, there is the if, and there is the ifs. So either of them would do the work for us. However, the ifs would work just fine in a case where we are bringing in multiple conditions at the same time. So for each of those multiple conditions, we want to have varying values. Now, if we use only the if, we can still have multiple conditions, right, by using the and. But at the end of the day, we want to have one particular result if true. So that's it. But the ifs with an S would help us have multiple results as long as they are true. It's going to give us multiple results. You found formula pass error. Worked for you. Hi, Miriam. Could you please share a screenshot to the chat? Can you just take a screenshot? Ifs works with multiple arguments without and. Yes, yes, it will. It will. So okay, so let me say the reason why we had the and. Um, So the reason why I brought in the and is because we're looking at a range of values. Of course, the ifs would work with various ones, but we're looking at a range of values. So we're trying to say if it's between this value and at the same time it is also between this value, right? Or sorry. So if it's between this minimum value and at the same time it's between this maximum value, then that's one statement, that's one condition. So that's why we brought in the and. But yes, the ifs would work with multiple conditions or arguments. So I'm waiting for Miriam to share in the screenshot and let's proceed. All right. Okay, you can't share. I'm not sure why. Can you share your formula instead? Okay, when you pasted, it says pass error. Oops. Okay. I'm trying to see what works. Okay, so let's see. Yes, when you pasted this. Hmm. Okay, so if age is less than 20, then 18, 19. And this. Okay, so this looks good. Use snipping tool. I think I'm not sure if the issue is because so there's a file. I think I can if I take a screenshot, I should be able to paste here. I'm just gonna take a screenshot and see. Okay, so you can't take a screenshot. I think you need to first save it and then send it as a file. I think you need to save it as an image and then send it as a file. I'm not sure why, but this should be able to. You had the same issue. Okay, so it might be Google Sheets. So it should still be the same, should still work out fine. Okay, so you're using Google Sheets. Yeah, it should still work. So please give me a moment. I'm just going to quickly try this in Google Sheets and let's see. So this is it. So just give me a moment. I'm going to bring in the same, just going to bring in the same formula so we don't waste time writing it again. Um, okay, sure, I have this. Just going to do this. Yes, I think my work got scattered and it's going on with my work. Okay, so this is fine. Just gonna copy this. So we can just quickly try this here. So this is age. Okay. All right. So this is expected. Okay. So I think just come here. So this is because Google Sheets is not treating the age as a table. So we can do this L2, replace all of the age values with L2. So yes, so that should be the problem. So we'll just replace all of the age values with L2. And I'm just going to come here. So we'll do this. So I hope this actually works. If it doesn't, then I think we'll have to still proceed. All right. Okay, so you can see this worked just fine. So it's likely that, so let me share this. So yeah, so this would work just fine for you. So I believe we can proceed. Okay, so it worked fine. All right, so let's proceed. Okay, Okay, so let's proceed. Let's proceed. So back to our Excel. And so we can now carry out our analysis. I think at this point in time, we can proceed to analyzing our data. So what we're going to do is to just click on our data here. Everyone, okay, so for Google Sheets, this may be a bit different. But if you're in Excel, what you want to do right now would be to click on your Get Data. If you're in Excel, please click on your Data tab. Go to Data tab. When you go to Data tab, you should see Get Data. So when you click on Get Data, you will scroll down to other sources, and you should see from table of range. I'll take that again. Go to Data tab, then you should see Get Data. Then you click on Get Data, you drop down for it, and then scroll to other sources. From other sources, you click on from table of range. Now, if you don't have this table of range or Get Data on your end, rather, that's for people still using Excel. I think we need to figure out for Google Sheets. No, we don't want to do this. Okay, so we don't want to do this. So nope, we do not want to do this. So that's fine. There won't be any need for that. Now, what we're going to do instead will be, please just give me a moment I need to start up another session and then come back here. So please just give me a moment. So please just give me a moment. I don't know if it's fine, but please just give me a moment to start up a session, then join back right in. Just give me like 5 minutes, please, if it's fine. Thank you. All right, thank you very much, everyone. I am so sorry about the break. Okay, so can we please confirm you can hear me? All right, awesome. So I really apologize about this. I had another session scheduled, but the persons who were supposed to handle it just mentioned that they were unavailable. So I needed to just quickly push it going and then come back here. So thank you very much. I'm going to share my screen again and you can proceed. Um, here. Okay, so I believe we're all good. You can see my screen. We're all good. All right. Now that we've been able to get all of this done, the next thing we want to do is to start analyzing our data. Now, if you're on Excel, please check if you have the table design tab. You should see all your different tabs. So please confirm if you have table design tab showing on your end. Does anyone have the table design tab? All right, awesome. So if you have the table design tab, please click on table design and you should see summarize with pivot table. Now, this is not the typical basics that we're looking at. I think in subsequent sessions, we'll take it one after the other and break it down from the very scratch, right? However, what we're trying to do today is to analyze an already existing data. There's a problem in this industry or in this organization rather, and we want to solve that problem with insights from data. So please, if you're on Excel, go to table design and click on summarize with pivot table. Now, what the pivot table does for us is they are a feature in Excel, or pivot table is a feature in Excel that helps us to summarize our data. It helps us to carry out analysis. It helps structure our data and makes a lot of sense. Right. And then from pivot tables, we can then be able to carry out data visualization as well. So please click on pivot, summarize the pivot table if you're in Excel. If you're on Google Sheets, then you want to create your pivot table. You won't see it the same way here as we have. So come here. And I'm not even sure where I have that again. So please let me know if on Google Sheets if you're able to find that. So Google Sheets, if you have it on Google Sheets, otherwise, I think for the other sessions, we might want to all have it all in Excel so that we can be on the same page. Are we all together? Can anyone hear me? Anyone? Can anyone hear me? Okay. All right, great. So let's proceed. So you go to table design. Everyone should have table design. Yes. All right, so everyone should have table design. So I cannot go to Google Sheets right now because my Chrome is messed up. So apologies. All right. So what we're going to do is go to table design, summarize with pivot table, and then it asks us for the range, which of course this is our range table one. So it's going to highlight everything in this range, and then we click on OK. Now when we click on OK, yes, yes, absolutely, absolutely. I think we need to just discuss with Suzanne about that. The recordings should definitely be available at all times. So yes. So we'll click on summarize with pivot table, and then we'll click on OK for the dialog box that it brought us. Right. Now, what we want to do is to start carrying out our analysis. So let's understand this data. Now, I always advise whenever you're analyzing your data, the things that you want to do first would be carry out some statistics, what we call descriptive statistics. So we carry out what we call descriptive statistics. Now, the descriptive statistics is basically trying to describe our data. Although it's usually focused on numerical data, however, we can still get it regardless of what type of data we have. Now, in the case of descriptive statistics, for this particular data, what we mean by descriptive statistics is to find out total employees. We want to find out the total employees. How many employees attritioned? How many attritioned? How many did not attrition? Then we also want to find out the employees by distribution, maybe gender or by age, or the attrition by gender, right? Your system is running low. Oh, so sorry about that, so sorry. Okay, so this is basically what we want to get. When we talk about descriptive statistics, we're basically talking about describing the data in a very simple way. Then we can proceed to analyzing it with different variables, right? So the first thing we want to do in this data is to find out what is the total number of employees for our data. What is the total number of employees for our data? So we have here. Now notice that it created us this pivot table. Whenever we go away from it, it goes off. What we have on our right-hand side, the pivot table fields goes off. But when we bring our mouse here again, it comes back. We go outside of it, it goes off. So this means we can only carry out our pivot analysis inside of this. So like I mentioned, first things first, we want to find out what is the total number of employees that we have in this data. We're going to scroll down here, or we can just search for the employee number. So we have the employee number, so we can drag it down to the values. And when we drag it down to the values, it tells us this is the count of employee number. Why? It's going to count every record that has the employee number and tells us that we have a total of 2,925 employees. We can then say, okay, so we have total employees of 2,925. Are we following? So we have total employees of 2,925. Now that we've figured out the total employees, so the next thing that we want to do is to find out how many employees attritioned, how many of them did not attrition. So let's look at it. Now we can go ahead and create a new pivot table, but that's going to be plenty of work for us. So instead, we can simply copy this. We'll just copy it and paste it around here. So we can see we've copied it and pasted it here. Now in the new one that we've pasted, we'll just unselect it. Now what we're going to do now is to select attrition, which contains the attrition status. Yes, they attritioned. No, they did not attrition. Now that we have this, the next thing we want to do is to select the same employee number, which is their unique ID, right? So we just drag employee number to the value section. And now we can see, based on their attrition status, we can see that employees who were still in the company as at when this data was collected were still 2,433 employees, while employees that attrition or left the company were 492 employees. Now, this might seem like quite a huge gap difference, or a huge difference rather. However, these 492 employees are still something of concern. If we have over, this is about 2,800 employees and 400 of them leaves, it means that there's definitely a driving force. There's something that's triggering them to leave the organization. So it is something of concern. It doesn't have to get to less than 1,000 employees before the organization realizes that, oh, we really have a problem at hand. So let's try to find out. So in its early stage, the organization wants us as the analysts to find out what is going on in the organization. Why do we have 492 employees leave the organization? And we can decide to tag this as um, distribution. I'll just call it proportion rather. Portion of attrition. So I hope we're all following. Now, in many cases, when you're analyzing your data, this is what we're doing in the pivot table, right? We're analyzing our data. You can see we now have a pivot table analyze tab here, right? So we're analyzing our data. Now, in many cases, when you're analyzing your data, the next thing you want to do is to also create visuals for them. So what do we do? When we are in the pivot table analyze, we can see the pivot chart. This will allow us be able to create a visual that will properly represent this data. So we can use this, we can do this, and this is what we have. Right. So this is going to allow us be able to create a visual for this particular data. Let me know if you have the same thing on your end. I'm just going to double click on my total and I can rename it to attrition by, I can just call it attrition status. Right. So this basically then tells us the number of employees that left the organization and the number of employees that are still in the organization. We have this button here. We can see whether they left or not. Let me know if we work together. All right, cool. Okay, so this way we can be able to have a visual. We're going to right click on any of these buttons here. We'll right click on any of these buttons. I think what I'm going to do is to also make like a recording and then share. Seeing that I had to use up some of our time, I think what I'm going to do is to make a recording with the processes and then share for everyone to also replicate on their end. Now, during the process, we'll be able to gain more clarity on how to visualize it as well. Hello, Sadiq, please go ahead. I was going to ask you to unmute. Yes, please go ahead, Sadiq. If you're talking, we cannot hear you. I can see that you're unmuted, but we cannot hear you. Let me see what we have in the chat. Help with the recording. Okay, yes, yes. So I totally understand. So sorry about that. But yes, so this particular session's recording will be sent out. Then I will do well to make a recording and share with everyone. I think by Monday, I should be free in the evening, so I should be able to make a recording and share. If I'm able to have it done tomorrow, I definitely will and share with everyone. All right. So we're just going to bring this on here. We can discard it if we don't need it right now. Now, another thing we want to find out, now we've been able to find out the proportion of attrition. What do we want to find out also? How is the attrition distributed across the employees? How is the attrition distributed across the employees? Now, by distribution, we mean by demographics or by work environment or by job satisfaction or every other stuff, every other category or criteria that we have here. Now, in this case, let's start off with gender. How many male persons or male employees left the organization? How many female employees left the organization? Now I'm going to copy this. I would copy this and paste around here also. Paste this around here, close this. So once I do this, I would remove the attrition here and remove employee here. Now what I'm going to do next is to find out my gender. I'll select gender, and then I would also find out, now based on gender, how many employees do we have? You can see that we have 1,171 female employees, 1,754 male employees in total, both whoever left and did not leave. Now, what if we wanted to find out the people that actually left? One way for us to do that is to bring in the attrition here and take it to the column section. Now, this way, notice what happens. It then breaks it for us that 180 female gender left the organization. 312 males left the organization. So we can now see that if we get to look at the attrition by gender, there were more men that left the organization. So what exactly is going on? Why do we have more men leaving the organization than women? So this is something the HR head begins to ask. Why do we have more men leave the organization than women? I hope this is beginning to make sense. So during your analysis, so many questions begin to come into your mind. You start asking so many questions, and the more you ask questions, the more there's always something to find out. You'd always see that, wow, so there's this, so this is happening. I didn't even know this was what was going on. Now, all the HR would have figured out on their end would be that, oh, we have employees leaving the organization, but they have no idea. Maybe when we look at gender, there are more male leaving than female, or there were more female who had left than male, right? So this is important as well. Now, this is one way for us to do this. A second way for us to do this, which actually works for me better, would be to go to my data tab and create a numerical component of my attrition. Now, remember we said something yesterday, right? In the last session, rather, where we talked about quantitative data and qualitative data. Now, what we have here, this is a qualitative data. All of these are qualitative data. These are qualitative data. And every other thing we have here are quantitative data. Now, what I'm going to try to do is to quantify my attrition status. To do that, I'm going to come here, right-click and insert. And then I would say, wherever it has a value of yes, I also want to see 1. Wherever it has a value of no, I want to see 0. I'm going to do the same thing, and I would have it all throughout my work. So wherever there's yes, it will return me 1. Wherever there's no, it will return me 0. Now, this is going to allow me be able to count or sum up every record or cell where it contains the value of 1. So if it contains 1 50 times, it means that is 50 persons that left the organization. Now, because we want to focus on attrition rather than people who stayed back in the organization, we want to focus on why they are leaving, right? Once we understand why they are leaving, we can be able to make them stay better. Even the people that did not leave, we would be able to improve their experience. So this is things that we want to do. Now, what I'm saying now is that I have 1 for yes and 0 for no. So I'm going to try to filter this and say for every place where I have yes, I would replace it with the value of 1. I'm going to drag this down and replace it with the value of 1. So to the end of my data. So I now have 1 all throughout. So this is it. Now for the place where I have no, I'm going to click on this filter button. Click on this. I'm going to replace it with the value of 0. So I'll drag this down and we have people who did not attrition. Right, so to the end of our data. So we now have plenty of no. Now let me show us what this actually does for me, so we can understand. Now this is because during our data analysis, you can be able to create, I'm just going to call this attrition. So we'll call this attrition and we'll call this is fine as attrition status. And I'm just going to come here, go to my data tab, and I'm going to refresh. So when I refresh, it's going to update that I can now see attrition. Now I'm going to do this a second way so that we can see what the difference is. So this is the first one, and this is the second one. Now for the second one, I'm going to remove all of this, to remove this, and we can just say attrition. Now, what this second one gives us is quite simple compared to what the first one gives us. The second one simply goes straight to the point and tells us, hey, this is the number of people that left the organization. But the second one, the first one tells us that, hey, we have this that did not leave, we have this that left, and then this is the grand total of everybody. So in order to work effectively, this second one works best because it is straight to the point and gives us exactly what we need. Do we get it? Can we please confirm that we're together? So if you do not get it, please let me know. I mean, that's why I'm here. So please let me know if you do not get it. If we need to retake it, absolutely fine. Okay, so we can proceed. Let me see. Okay, so let's retake it. All right, great. I'm going to come back here. Now, what we did here, right, was to say we have qualitative data which can be expressed yes or no. Now, we also want to quantify the data. So yes would then become 1. No would then become 0. So this is what we now have. Now, when we now start counting 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1, it's going to total the number of employees that left at the end of the day once we sum it up, because of course 1 plus 0 is still 1, right? So it means that we're not focusing on the no's at this point in time. We're focusing on only all the yes values. So now that we have it, we then bring it back here. Now we're saying the first one, of course, the first one looks good. We can see, oh, they did not leave. This number of persons did not leave. This number of persons left, right? However, second one just goes straight to the point and tells us these are the number of people that left. So again, both of them are correct. They are absolutely correct because if you can see, we have the same number of persons that left, 180 and 312, which is the same on both sides. But we just have one that is straight to the point, telling us these are the number of persons that left for the female gender and for the male gender. However, this one tells us, oh, 180 females left, leaving 991. 312 males left, leaving 1,442. So this is something for us to now start looking into. Like I mentioned, both of them are absolutely correct. When we start visualizing them, we can then decide maybe we want this one or we want this. Let me show us in visual so we can see they are both correct. This is absolutely fine. So this is absolutely fine. So this is one, and this would give us something like this. Just gonna come there, and so we can see the two results that we have. One tells us, so this is again dependent on what you need to communicate. Now, if you need to communicate both everyone who left and who are still in the organization, then absolutely fine. The first one is the best process. If you need to focus on only the people who left, the second one is the best method. So you can see different approach to getting the same result. The first one simply tells us this is the no value in blue, and this is the yes value in orange. This tells us this is the no value in blue for male and the yes value in orange for male. We can now see that there were more persons who were still in the organization by gender compared to persons who left. But the second method just focuses on the people who left and just goes straight to the point and tells us 312 male left, 180 female left, making 37% of our workforce and these 63% of our workforce. Can we now see that different perspectives but the same meaning? Are we good? All right. Okay, so we're good, we're good, we're good. Now, all of these visuals would not actually matter right now. Of course, we can be able to make them make sense later on. But right now, we don't need them. We're just trying to use them to understand. Now, I believe also we can be able to see the differences. If someone looks at this, they might not get it. But when they look at this, it's pretty easy to understand, right? So this means that in most cases, when you're presenting your analysis, you want to have it communicated using visuals. Anyone can simply look at this and say, oh, this orange one is bigger than the blue one, right? You can see, oh, the orange one represents male, the blue one represents the female. And then we just need to have the values shown. But however, we can see that there were more male than female. So this is what the data shows us. Now I'm going to delete these images. We would create them later on, or in the recording I'm going to make, I'll just create them better so we can also replicate the same. I'm going to give this. So let me know which of them was sticking with. Anyone, let me know which of them was sticking with. The first one or the second one, so I can have one removed. Or you can decide we want to keep them both. Let me know which works best for you. Let's see. Let's see what we have in the chat. So the first one, okay, so everyone wants the first one so we can see both. All right, let's proceed. All right, so let's proceed. So we'll work with the first one. I'm just going to delete this second one off from here. All right, so we work with the first one. I'll just call it distribution of employees and attrition by their gender. So this is the distribution of employees and attrition by their gender. All right. Now, another thing that we want to do is, so let's look further into our data. What else can we look at? Anyone, what else can we look at? I think for this recording I'm going to make, I would focus more on the questions that we have outlined. So what else can we look at here? Anyone? Maybe something that you believe we can be able to look at to find out why employees are leaving. So just quickly look at your data and let me know. Okay, so let me see what we have in the chat. Department and attrition. All right. So let's look at department and attrition. So let's see. I'm going to copy this again. Just copy and paste it somewhere here. So I don't have to recreate it every time. So I'm going to come here and say department and attrition. So first things first, going to look for my department. So this is my department. These are all the people that we have in the department. So we have the HR, we have the R&D, and we also have the sales. These are everybody that we have in the department. Now, how is the attrition distributed? What department suffered the most attrition? So let's have a look. So we're going to bring the attrition status. Looks like everyone likes the first one, so that's fine. We'll bring in the attrition status, and then we will bring in the employee numbers. So the employee numbers just basically is their IDs, the employee IDs. And this way, we can then be able to see the department that suffered the most attrition. I'm just going to have it this way. Oh, yep. I think this Zoom something is blocking. All right, so we can see that by attrition, we have the HR suffering the lowest attrition. They still have, so this would likely mean that the HR team has less persons in their team, and they also had the lowest attrition. Only 24 persons left the HR team. Now we can see the R&D team. The R&D team had about 1624 persons still in the team, and we had about 282 persons that left the team. So there's something that we need to look into the R&D, which is the research and development. So what exactly is going on in the research and development? Now, when we also look at sales, we can see that sales has 707 employees that are still in the organization. And then they now have 186 that have left the organization. So this is important. Let's see, age group and attrition. Yes, fantastic. So the age group that we created, let's put it to use. Now, when it comes to the department, we can see how this plays a key role in helping us understand what is going on. So this means that the HR departments likely suffered the least attrition, number one, because they were a small number of employees in that particular unit or department. Secondly, maybe because they are actually HRs, they must have figured out ways to cajole themselves to stay back in the organization, right? However, in the research and development department, we seem to have had the highest number of attritions while also having the highest number of employees still retained in that particular department. So we can see how this is working. Now, over time, once we have everything all put together, we would then be able to understand this is the major factor. These are other contributing factors why employees are leaving. We can then start putting all the dots together to say most of the employees who were female and were in the research and development department and were between this age range and maybe were also married or unmarried or divorced, then most likely these are the people that left the organization more compared to any other unit or demographic. So why exactly did they leave the organization? You start digging, maybe distance from work, maybe performance rating, maybe they've not had salary increase in years and all of those, right? We start finding out more insights about this. Now I'm going to call this attrition by department. We want to call this attrition by department. Just going to copy this also again. And so let's look at attrition by age. Let's see what we have here. Yes, can we also check the percentage of attrition of each category, department, and age group? Thinking because the HR team have low number on the table doesn't necessarily mean that the percentage attrition of HR is low. Just thinking. Okay, so I did not want to say this right now so that it doesn't take us into other aspects. But of course, this is something that we need to look at. Maybe when we're carrying out like the proper analysis and all that, we would be able to look at it. Now, this is because the fact, I'm just going to bring back this. So just like you said, I already figured it out from here, but I just didn't want to talk about it right now. So it won't push us more into other aspects, especially being that some of us are lost at the moment and we need to get it proper again. Now, if we have a look at this, there's something that we would have already noticed, right? There are about 102 HR persons, plus this is like, just gonna try to get this. Let me see. So this is 102, and this is also 24. So 102 and 24, that's like 146. So this means a total of 146 HRs, right? And only 24 of them left, which is a very tiny percent, right? Compared to what we have here. Now, however, when we look here, we can see that there were 1,624 persons in the R&D, and we also have 282 persons. When we also compare it proper, we can see that a good percent of the R&D people left the organization. Now, this could also be because we had more persons in the R&D. It now means that more persons left. But like you already mentioned, when we look at it from different aspects, we might find out that the HR had more persons leave the organization. But the reason we're unable to find that out is simply because they have small number of persons in the organization, in that unit or department. We can also look at the sales that retained and the ones that left. So like I mentioned, the more you look into your data, the more things that you get to find. The more you look into your data, the more things you get to find, right? You look at it from different aspects and then you can be able to figure it out. Now, let's also look at it this way. Just going to come here and I'm going to label this. So these are the labels. We can now see all the values, right? I'm going to come here and just do, let's see. So I'm not talking about this right now because it's not needed for this session. Okay, so we can't actually get this right now. Let me see this from here. So we can't get this right now, but I think we'll explore this afterwards, right? Now, what we basically are looking at is the values for each of these departments that we have. We can see the HR 102 still in the organization, 24 has left. By the time we compare that, we can now find out the real impact of the attrition. I believe we're following. Please confirm that we're following. All right. Yes, we are. Yes, we are. So, like I mentioned, in the next session that I'm going to make, in the recording that I'm going to make sure that we look at various aspects of the analysis and try to understand it better. So for now, we're still doing some kind of like rough work. So let's look at how the age affects this, or what is the attrition like based on age. So I'm going to come here. I think this will be the last one before we call it. So I'm just going to bring in the attrition by age. I'm going to bring this away from here. And I'm going to bring in the age group. So let me bring in my age group here. So I'll bring in my age group, and this is what we now have. Now we can see what we have when it comes to the age compared to what we would have had. So let's bring this. Assuming we did not create the age group, this is what we'd likely be having by now. So this age, so this is what we'd likely be having. We'll just be having all these things by each age, which is not ideal for an analysis that we want to carry out. Instead, when we have it grouped, we would be getting the frequency. How many times does it see values within 18 to 19 years of age? It sees 34 employees between that age range. How about between 20 to 29? 617 employees. How about 30 to 39? 1,234 employees. We can also see for all the other age range. And 50 and above, we have 345 employees that were aged 50 and above. So I believe this makes sense why we had this done in the first place. So now what we're going to do next, is to then come here and find out, based on age, who were the guys that attrition. I'll bring it to my columns. And I'll make this for this case. Just going to take this. All right. So come here. See. I think it's okay. So I think this is fine. Just gonna copy this from here. Put this here. All right. So now let's look at attrition by the age group that we've provided. And based on the age group, we can now see the people and how they left the organization. So this is this. And this is what we now have. Is this? So this is what we now have when we look at it based on the age. We can now see between the age of 18 to 19, we had quite a small number of total persons. However, I'm just going to label. So we can data labels. All right. So we now have 18 persons, 14 persons rather, that are still in the organization, and 20 persons that left the organization out of the 34 persons. So it means between this age range, we had a good number of persons leave the organization compared to the people that stayed back. All right. Now we can also look at the age 20 to 29. 447 persons are still 170 left, which is also a huge number compared to the total value. We can see the age range 30 to 39. We had over 1,000 persons in this age range. 1,000 persons are still in the organization, and we have a bit over 10% of that particular value leave the organization. We also have for 40 to 49, 629 of them are still in the organization, and we have about 66 of them left. So we can look at all of these. By the time we start making a proper analysis, putting them all together, we will then begin to find so much insights. Then later on, we can then start looking at relationships. Oh, does distance from home or does overtime affect attrition? Definitely, if I work overtime all the time, I want to ensure that I leave. Or if I stay close to the office environment, and I'm always being dragged to the office every time, I definitely want to leave, right? So things like this would influence you to understand why people are leaving. Maybe people that live close to the organization, they attrition more compared to people that stayed at a far distance. Or maybe people that stayed at a far distance attrition more because they could not meet up with the office time, or they could not meet up with the office much earlier than expected. We can also look at attrition by education. Does education influence the attrition? Do people who have high school degrees leave, or we have those with master's degree leave? And all of these, we can check relationship. How does the environment satisfaction influence the attrition? How about the hourly rate? How about the job level or satisfaction level? How about the number of companies worked? I don't think this influences attrition, but I think what would influence attrition would be maybe total working years or work-life balance majorly. So how many people left because they rated the work-life balance as low, right? So these are things that we want to find out at the end of the day. We then start finding out, does an employee relationship with the manager influence their decision to stay back in the organization, or does it make them even leave the organization? So we want to find out, maybe people who are leaving the organization are those who have stayed longer years with their current manager, or maybe it's those who have just only been with the manager for less than a year or a few years. I believe we can translate the zeros to that, right? So when we start analyzing properly, we start getting so much insight, and we can begin to make sense of this. At the end of the day, once we have all of these insights, we can then put them together in a report and say, based on my analysis, this is what I have been able to find out. Now, based on what I have been able to find out, this is strategies that we can take to improve employee retention. I hope this is making sense. All right, right, all right. All right, so I think that's about that for now. Let me know if you have any questions. Like I already mentioned, I will do well to make a recording of this, right? And then try to make it as simplified as possible. So let me know if you have any question, or you can put it in the chat and then we can have a look at it. Okay, so there are no questions. Okay, so I think in that regards, I think we've come to the end of the session today. Like I already mentioned, I would do well to make a recording and then have it shared to everyone. I would also discuss with Susan, and this particular recording will be shared to everyone. So pending when the one from me comes through, but I would try as much as possible to make it between tomorrow and Monday, so you can get to work on it before the next session. So thank you very much, everyone, for your time too. And I'll see you in the next session. Have an amazing weekend.